is the BOS. The BOS is the broadband operating system. When Rex was talking about the software that we have, there are lots of additional applications of the software. We have the software currently to operate our own network. We believe that there is an opportunity to set up a standardized protocol for the industry that uses some of those same components that are in our network operating system. So we are proposing the development of a broadband operating system. That's a proposed standard protocol for accessing real-time bandwidth. It is desperately needed in the industry so that people can get quickly, on a real-time basis, access to bandwidth. What this thing is a single operating system paradigm which ties together, as Rex mentioned, all the network resources, switches, routers, servers, and applications. It would be the first direct software link between the applications and the network resources. That if you have an application, software, it's running, it knows it needs bandwidth, it would be able to reference the bandwidth operating system, figure out how you actually schedule and nominate that bandwidth, get access to it, provision it, ensure it's at an adequate quality of service, and then that software can call in that bandwidth, and when it's done with it, it can send it back, and that would be a real service to the applications development business. The protocol that we envision is consistent with the Enron Intelligent Network and with Enron's bandwidth provisioning architecture, and it would be made available to all software developers through published application programming interfaces, so that we would set up basically a set of interfaces that would allow an application developer to take that application programming interface, stick it in their system or whatever they're programming, and it would access the operating system to provide them real-time bandwidth as necessary within their application. Just graphically, it would look something like this, where you have a bunch of third-party software that's being developed. They use an API which ties into a standardized method for developing the software, and then or developing the bandwidth or make available the bandwidth, and then that would be able to access the network. This is important because this, I think, can supercharge the development of our business. And the reason it can supercharge the development of the business is everyone would be using that same protocol. Now, the reason I'm talking about this, you're probably sitting there going, what the hell is he talking about? But this is important. And as a part of the discussion today, I'd like to make an announcement related to the development of this software platform and this capability to access on a real-time basis broadband services. We are announcing today an agreement with Sun Microsystems that's intended to accelerate the adoption of broadband internet services as we have been describing today. Under the agreement, Sun is going to help Enron build out the footprint for the next generation broadband infrastructure, the Enron Intelligent Network, which is based, as we've talked about, on the fiber, servers, pooling points, and our operating system, which is described here. Enron and Sun will also collaborate to optimize the Enron Intelligent Network for use with the Sun platform, which will lead to accelerated deployment of this type and philosophy of operating system in the industry. And Enron and Sun will engage in joint marketing efforts to promote the EIN services as a way to address the needs of enterprises, software developers, and service providers for the delivery of broadband applications at guaranteed service levels. Specifically, what we're talking about is jointly developing some APIs, application programming interfaces, to embed the EIN model into a broad base of applications when people are developing software. So we're announcing that. I would like to introduce Scott McNealy, who is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Sun Microsystems, to provide his perspectives on what this stuff can do and how it can help the industry and how it fits into Sun's philosophy in the marketplace. Scott, thank you for coming. Thanks. By the way, we dragged poor Scott down here out of his deathbed. He's got the grunge that I think most of the people in the country have got right now, but thank you very much for coming, Scott.
Actually, I'm feeling pretty good. 18,000 servers tends to snap me right out of I didn't put a jacket on for this event. I almost went out and rented a tux. This is a pretty interesting opportunity, and I think you see lots of different people actually going after this, trying to figure out how to make the World Wide the World Wide Web turn into something that's actually usable and can be mission critical and can actually start delivering entertainment and mission-critical kinds of services. We've obviously built Sun from day one with the strategy that, and the assumption, the basic assumption that every man, woman, and child will be connected to a high-speed broadband network no matter where they are, all times, right? Obviously, that's a dumb assumption. I mean, half the world dies without ever making or receiving a phone call, but it's becoming a less dumber assumption every day. And building the design center for all that we do, the products, technologies, APIs, and partnerships, assuming that will happen, I think has paid off for our shareholders, and I think it'll pay off for Enron shareholders, because that assumption is basically the two companies together are partnering to make a reality, and this is a huge step forward in that direction. The other reason I'm here, besides 18,000 servers, is, did I say that already? Is that I think the philosophies here are very similar between Enron and Sun, and for a father who named his first son Maverick, I think Enron makes a pretty interesting partner in their rule-breaking kinds of strategies around opening markets up, driving the Darwinian market economy into what have been previously closed, proprietary, and sometimes monopoly-dominated, at least that's what we have in our industry, monopoly-dominated situations. And the way you beat them is to open interfaces, provide plug-in. We don't call it plug and play. That's what Microsoft says. We call it plug and pay when they do it. We just call it plug and work, where you just kind of plug in and everything all works together in one seamless fabric. So the architectural philosophy strategies between Enron and Sun are in the same way this broadband effort is similar to their energy utility model. Well, their whole approach and strategy of opening the interfaces and driving APIs is completely analogous to what we have done to the internet. And we now have become the #1 platform on the internet. You just don't know it. When you're doing email or doing electronic commerce or hitting on a website or whatever, you're using our technology, you just don't know it. It's all kind of hidden. In the same way, when you use a hairdryer or turn on the light, you're using Enron on the back end of all of that. We're kind of hidden. We're kind of one of these, not necessarily consumer names out there, but I think it's a natural that these two companies are working together, and we really do like the approach here. We also think that Enron does have some secret sauce here, that this isn't just a strict trading play and first mover advantage. We think there's actually some expertise here in getting automatic, real-time, dynamic loading, switching of the bandwidth out there in the marketplace, and building the APIs and the software and working with partners like Lucent to go make that happen. It's not easy. You don't want it to be easy. If it's easy, everybody could do it. And then you'd have grocery store margins. And then a web van would come along and nail you anyhow. So we think there's some significant secret sauce. We also think that the job isn't completely done, and we need to open up the APIs. And it's important. I noticed the apology for starting to talk techno kind of speak here around APIs and application developers and evangelism of and incorporation of those APIs. It's a very, very powerful movement because name anything that's not being put on a website. Stunned to silence. There is nothing that's not being put on a website. And what you want to do is get all of the content, application software, content creators, writing an environment that can actually go in and reserve and get billed for the bandwidth required for that particular application. Because right now everybody writes an application. The standard way of writing an application was write an application assuming you had some bus bandwidth between the CPU and the disk drive on your personal computer. I mean, that was fundamentally Well, now we've got a bus not from the CPU to a disk drive that is like this far away from each other, but you could have the disk drive and the application and the content somewhere all the way on the other side of the planet, connected to your display and local processing power. And in fact, you're going to see video, full motion video, coming to devices like this. And to have that guaranteed quality of service is easy on a PC. It's a little different problem in the multi-vendor environment. So having an API that can handle any kind of client environment, any kind of server environment, and any carrier from a network perspective, putting all that together is, again, a non-trivial task. And we're very excited about working with Enron, and in fact, Enron's open approach to actually using the same process that we use in developing all of the Java application environments, to use the Java community process to go get lots of carriers, lots of competitors, lots of partners all together to jointly develop these environments so that the application and service providers can all write to one common language in the same way that Java and Genie have kind of become the common language of the internet. We will be creating these broadband protocols. We're excited they've chosen to implement that on top of Solaris as Java extensions, but true to the openness of both companies, we're not limiting it in terms of the API development to just our platform or just the Enron services. We're making it available in an open way. That's the only way you can do it. And everybody in the planet, well, everybody but Microsoft has figured that out. And I think that's very forward thinking here. So we're excited. We're going to go build out the network. As we said, that's obviously where we make our bread and butter, microprocessors, disk drives, and DRAM, and we're very excited about all this new content because it uses a ton of our servers, and we're pretty excited about it. So I don't know what else to say other than this is right on the button. This is the sweet spot. This is where the market value and the market cap is in the industry today. Just look at what's going on around the world as people are trying to put this in place. I think the background skills, expertise, and just sheer legacy DNA in terms of how to operate in this open market environment is going to do very, very well by Enron as they go forward. Plus, they have the ability to make the capital investments, and the list of partners they have there that's right on the button. Inktomi and Lucent and others are right on the button in terms of the kinds of partners you need to go make this happen. So with that, I guess we'll turn it over to Q&A.